A box that should have never been found. What if an object could carry pure evil, unseen, untouched, but absolutely real? In 2001, a man named Kevin Mannis purchased a mysterious wooden wine cabinet at an estate sale in Portland, Oregon. He believed it to be a rare antique, a piece of Jewish history, perhaps a relic of the Holocaust. What he didn't know, what he couldn't possibly know, was that this cabinet held something far more sinister than a few trinkets or forgotten memories. That box would unleash a wave of terror, misfortune, and fear across everyone who dared to touch it. It didn't matter whether you believed or not. Once it was opened, the darkness seeped out. What seemed like harmless folklore quickly transformed into a series of real-life horrors that no one could ignore. The Dybbuk Box's legacy continues to this day, sealed, feared, and watched closely. The curious purchase that unleashed a curse. Kevin Mannis, a small business owner who ran a quaint antique shop in Portland, stumbled upon the box at an estate sale. It belonged to the family of a Holocaust survivor named Havilah. Among furniture and aged books stood a peculiar cabinet, ornate, aged and radiating a strange aura. When Mannis expressed interest in the piece, Havilah's granddaughter hesitated. She pleaded with him not to buy it, explaining that it had always brought misfortune. She referred to it as a Dybbuk Box, something tied to ancient Jewish mysticism, a container for a restless and vengeful spirit. Kevin was fascinated. He believed in stories, but not spirits. Against her advice, he bought the box. He saw it as an intriguing item for his collection, unaware that this decision would turn his life upside down. That single transaction would spark one of the most notorious paranormal sagas of the 21st century. What is a Dybbuk? In Jewish folklore, a Dybbuk is a malicious spirit that attaches itself to the living in order to possess them. It is often the soul of someone who died with unresolved anger, trauma, or evil. A Dybbuk doesn't just haunt you, it invades your body, clings to your soul, and feeds off your suffering. The term itself comes from the Hebrew word Dybbuk, meaning to cling. These spirits were feared not only for their spiritual power, but for their ability to manipulate the physical world. Religious texts describe them as nearly impossible to exorcise without ancient and exact rituals. And once you let one out, it never goes back quietly. The Dybbuk feeds on chaos, attaches itself to misery, and seeks to fulfill its dark purpose by tormenting the living until it is satisfied, if it ever is. Kevin's nightmare begins. Within days of bringing the Dybbuk Box into his store, Kevin began experiencing horrifying events. Lights flickered, shadows moved in the corners, strange smells, rotting flowers and urine filled the air. Employees reported hearing voices. Customers would flee the shop, unnerved by the oppressive energy surrounding the cabinet. Kevin brushed it off as overwork and coincidence, but deep down, a cold anxiety began to take root. Soon, Kevin himself became a victim of the box's wrath. He was plagued by sleep paralysis, violent nightmares, and inexplicable bouts of rage. The box had chosen him as its first modern conduit, and it wasn't letting go. A birthday gift that went horribly wrong, Kevin decided to give the box to his mother for her birthday. It was an antique, after all, a meaningful heirloom. But within minutes of opening the cabinet, his mother suffered a sudden stroke. Doctors couldn't explain it. She survived but lost the ability to speak for days. Kevin, overwhelmed with guilt and fear, retrieved the box from her bedside. Still skeptical, Kevin gave the box away again, this time to a friend. The friend returned it 3 days later, terrified, claiming the box had opened by itself and that his home was now crawling with whispers. The curse had begun to spread. Inside the Dybbuk Box, the ritual remains. Curiosity turned to horror when Kevin opened the box and found what was inside. A 1920s-style wine cup, a dried rosebud, 2 locks of hair bound with cord, a granite slab engraved with Hebrew, a candlestick, and a small black button. These weren't just items, they were symbols. Ritualistic, possibly remnants of an ancient Jewish exorcism meant to trap the Dybbuk within the box. But it had already been opened. Each item was stained with history and purpose. Together, they painted the picture of an ancient struggle to contain evil. But Kevin had unknowingly undone all of it. unraveling decades, possibly centuries of containment. Jason Haxton, the scholar who challenged the box. Eventually, the box found its way to Jason Haxton, a museum curator in Missouri. A man of logic and science, Jason didn't believe in the supernatural until it began happening to him. After acquiring the Dybbuk Box, Jason suffered mysterious health issues. He developed rashes, began coughing up blood, and experienced violent nightmares of being suffocated. His skepticism began to crack. Electronic devices around the box failed. Visitors to his home would grow violently ill. Eventually, Jason sought spiritual guidance from rabbis and mystics, desperate to understand the thing he had brought into his life. The box reaches Hollywood, the possession. In 2012, the story of the Dybbuk Box became the basis of the horror movie The Possession, produced by Sam Raimi. Though fictionalized, the film aimed to capture the terror behind the real story. But the curse seemed to follow the production. Lights exploded on set. Equipment malfunctioned. A mysterious fire destroyed the props in storage after filming. The cast refused to be in the same room as the real box. Some even said they felt watched. The legend had now gone global. Viewers who learned about the Dybbuk Box began to report nightmares just from seeing pictures of it. The energy it carried had moved beyond physical form. Zak Bagans, the keeper of cursed objects. The box's most high-profile owner is Zak Bagans, host of Ghost Adventures and owner of the Haunted Museum in Las Vegas. In 2016, Zak purchased the box from Haxton and placed it under heavy surveillance and containment. Security cameras captured movement near the sealed box. Guests fainted after standing too close. Others reported being followed by shadow figures after leaving the room. The museum staff became accustomed to strange electrical disturbances near its case. Zak himself claimed to experience extreme headaches, mood swings, and unexplained cold spots. Despite locking it behind reinforced glass, the Dybbuk Box was very much alive. Post Malone, the curse lives on. During the infamous opening, Post Malone didn't touch the box directly, but he touched Zak Bagans' shoulder as the box was open enough, it seems, to be affected. In the following months, Post Malone's private jet had to make an emergency landing. His car crashed, and his home was broken into. Fans were convinced the Dybbuk Box had followed him. Post Malone has never publicly confirmed whether he believes he was cursed, but his nervous body language during the box opening suggests he felt something deeply wrong. Even today, interviews referencing the event send chills down spines. Post's close encounter may have been brief, but the box left a lasting scar on his life. Can the curse ever be broken? Religious scholars argue over whether a Dybbuk can be truly exorcised. Some say once unleashed, it can never be bound again. Others suggest that the rituals needed to seal it away are so ancient and specific, they've been lost to time. As of today, the Dybbuk Box remains sealed in the Haunted Museum. Visitors are warned not to get too close. Some ignore the warning only to collapse minutes later. Others weep uncontrollably in its presence. Zak Bagans has no plans to destroy it, and perhaps that's for the best. Because even if it could be destroyed, who knows what might be released in the process? Would you dare unlock the unknown? So would you open it? Would you dare turn the handle on a box tied to death, disease, nightmares, and possibly possession? We live in an age where most things are explainable. Science has debunked so many old superstitions. But this story, this box defies explanation. Is it mass hysteria, a brilliant hoax, or a doorway to something we were never meant to understand? One thing is clear, the Dybbuk Box has already changed lives and ended some. Maybe the question isn't what's inside the box, but who it's waiting for next. Thanks for watching. If this chilling tale of the Dybbuk Box gave you goosebumps, tap the like button and subscribe for more real-life horror, cursed artifacts, and the darkest mysteries ever uncovered.